Today we're going to be looking at getting people started, and we are seeing this is a very essential skill for evangelism and entrepreneurial endeavors at all, is when people are raising their hand saying, hey, here am I, Lord, send me. I want to use my talents for Christ. I want to be able to help contribute to this vision, to this mission. How can I help? What can I do? Our ability to help people to get started quickly and effectively, so immediately they can start getting on board and using their talents to move the mission forward, is going to make or break our ability to succeed. You know, there's some corporate statistics that a new hire that joins isn't useful until about like two months into the organization, which, like, that sounds crazy. To think that someone would be 2 months in and they still wouldn't be able to contribute through the amount of effort and energy it requires to acquire someone who wants to help. So we're going to be learning today about how we can duplicate, how we can help other people to do what we're doing. And we're going to be looking for principles that we can remix, that we could transfer into the context of whatever organization or ministry or thing that we're doing. So we're going to hit play. This is I believe chapter 9, skill number 6.
Yeah.
6 out of 7. Okay.
Chapter 9, skill number 6, helping your new distributor get started right. In network marketing, people invest enormous effort, time, and money into getting people signed up, and then squander that investment by leaving their new distributors to figure everything out for themselves. Professionals don't do that. They set proper expectations, they help get some quick results, and then continue to guide the new distributor through the many phases of our profession. I was lucky enough to have an early mentor, Michael Nelson, who is very skilled at guiding new distributors. Michael wasn't in my upline, but he was clearly the leader in my city. In addition, he had a lot of experience in our profession. So I listened to what he said, I watched what he did, and I asked him tons of questions. Back in those days, he had a small office close to my home, and I was always hanging around trying to learn something. Michael was a very successful recruiter. He was always bringing on new people. And for the most part, Michael's people did well in the business. That wasn't happening for me. The few people I recruited did nothing. As I watched Michael, I noticed that every time he signed up a new distributor, he scheduled what he called a game plan interview. I decided to model what he did. So the next time he met with a new distributor, I sat behind them close enough to take notes on their conversation. I did this several times and was surprised to learn he went through the same exact interview every time. I thought if I could learn that interview process, then I'd have a chance at his results. Game plan interview, part 1. He validated their decision to become a distributor. He said things like, "Congratulations on making the decision. I'm proud of you for taking charge of your life. From now on, things are going to be different for you and your family." It always took less than 5 minutes, but by the end of their discussion, any doubt they may have had about becoming a distributor was gone. They felt great. Game plan interview, part 2. He set their expectations. He knew most people came into our business with unrealistic expectations, so he always said the same 3 things. If you succeed in this business, it's going to be you who creates that success, not me. And if you fail in this business, it's going to be you who creates that failure, not me. You're going to be the difference between success and failure. I'm here to guide you every step of the way, but I can't do it for you. I'm here to work with you, but not for you. Wow, this was a radical concept and so different from the conversations I had when I got a person started. I said things like, "I get paid from what you produce, so essentially I work for you." Well, what kind of expectation do you think that set in the new distributor's mind? I'd also say, "We are going to build a business together," when that wasn't really true. They needed to build a business. I could be a resource, but I couldn't do it for them. The next thing he said was, "My job is to help you become independent from me as quickly as possible. Do you agree that that's a good goal?" Again, this was radical, but it made sense. Up to that point, I had a group that was extremely dependent on me. They only did something when I pushed. But Michael had a group that produced on their own without his constant help. He had duplication and freedom. I didn't. This set the relationship up, so Michael would be the teacher for his group and not the slave. He could show them the skills, and then they could independently build from that point forward. The third thing he said was, there will certainly be ups and downs as you build your business. There'll be good times and bad times. I'll know when you're in one of the bad times, when you aren't calling me, you aren't showing up for meetings, you aren't on the calls, if I start hearing excuses, that sort of thing. When that happens with you, and it happens with everyone, how do you want me to handle that? Do you want me to leave you alone? Or do you want me to be persistent and remind you why you made this decision in the first place? This was brilliant, because it's true that everyone will have times of self-doubt. He let them know it was natural, and at the same time, set up the relationship so he was in a position to turn them around when it happened. What Michael accomplished with these three concepts was so different from promising the world like I was doing, that it was night and day. With my approach, the distributor would sit back and wait for me to perform. And if I was ever too busy or couldn't help for some reason, I became the easy excuse for why things weren't working out. With Michael's approach, his people became independent quickly. He would coach them from time to time, but he wouldn't allow his group to use him as an excuse for their lack of results. While my distributors struggled, his flourished. Game Plan Interview, Part 3. Michael went through a getting started checklist to help the new person have the best chance for success. The exact plan would be different for every company, but the concept was to do everything possible to get quick results. Here are some examples of what you could include in your getting started checklist. 1. Make sure your new distributor is set up with appropriate products. Just about every company has products that can be personally used by the distributor, so make sure your new person is doing that. Depending on your company, this may include a monthly commitment. It's very important that people develop an emotional attachment to the products, and that can only happen if they are using them and enjoying the benefits. In addition, many companies have products that can be sampled or used in demonstrations. In that case, new distributors should have an appropriate supply so they're properly prepared. 2. Make sure your new distributor is set up with appropriate tools. We've talked about the importance of third-party tools in building a large and successful network marketing business. Your new distributor needs to be prepared to help their prospects with the tools that will professionally take them through the exposure process. 3. Make sure your new distributor gets connected. Show them how to find things on the company website, where the upcoming events are being held, when the leadership calls or webinars are being conducted, etc. Remember, our goal is to help them become independent as quickly as possible. This is an important step in making that goal a reality. 4. Make sure your new distributor has a basic understanding of the compensation plan. They don't need to know it in detail at the beginning, but they should at least understand the key points and what will happen financially as they move through the first few levels. 5. Make sure your new distributor has a fundamental understanding of how to properly invite their prospects to understand more about what they have to offer. You can save them from running out there and talking their heads off with little or no results by giving them a brief overview of how and why a professional invitation process works. Game Plan Interview, Part 4. Michael helped the new distributor create a game plan to get through the first few ranks and challenged them to do it quickly. He understood and helped me to understand that it was a race to help a person get results quickly. If they received early positive reinforcement, they'd continue, and if they didn't, they had a tendency to fade away. Every company is different, so this game plan will also be different, but think about the simple actions you can encourage people to take during the first week to get the best possible results. How can they get their first customer? How can they get their first distributor? Can you encourage them to attend their first company event? What steps can you take to help them earn their first commission check? Success in network marketing wasn't real for me until I earned that first check. When it arrived, everything changed for me. I started to really dream about creating a better life for myself and my family. Helping your new person get off to a quick start is vital. Game Plan Interview, Part 5. Michael always ended by giving some specific assignments. One thing I've learned is new distributors crave direction, and they respond incredibly well to simple assignments. Michael always ended by giving those assignments along with a deadline for them to be completed. He told his new distributor to get back to him by a specific date. It's just like the exposure prospecting process. You go from exposure to exposure, but it doesn't end until they become distributors. The professionals continue to go from exposure to exposure, assignment to assignment. The purpose of all this is to help the new distributor get over the line. When someone gets started, there's always a line between success and failure. On one side of the line, it's easier to quit than continue. On the other side of the line, it's easier to continue than to quit. What can help a person get over the line? Signing up their first customer, signing up their first distributor, getting their first commission check, attending a big company event, making friends inside the organization, proclaiming their intentions to the world, getting promoted to a new level, being recognized for some sort of achievement. There are hundreds of other things that can contribute to a person getting over the line. As a sponsor, your job is to help them get over the line and stay over the line. And the line never really goes away. It's always there. And you as a leader need to be constantly aware of where your people are emotionally. This way you can continue to encourage them to never let go of their dreams.
Do you want to put the video on? Oh yeah, we can do that. What? No, to just hit cut.
Oh. What's going on? Oh.
There you go. Wow, so that video was, I mean, that had a lot in there. It was really eye-opening, very interesting. Some of the there made a lot of connections. What was something that stood out to you guys?
You always want to welcome them, congratulate them for making their decision to join the Army of Youth so that they feel like they're a part of a family.
Yes, it wasn't congratulate though.
No,
It
well-
was
That's the word he used,
Validate.
congratulate.
no, it was validate.
Validate their decision.
Validate their decision. Not
Which means welcoming them, right?
no, not exactly.
No, validate is like telling a person that what they're thinking is right. It's like assuring them that they're on the right track.
It's giving them that blessed assurance that it's like, hey, you made a good decision for signing up with the Army of Youth. You are here because God has a calling in your life. This is a fulfillment of using your gifts for Jesus. And as people are like, I don't know, they have a lot of insecurities. They're wondering like, maybe I shouldn't have been here. Maybe I don't have time. Maybe this isn't for me, or maybe I can't help. Maybe my weakness is technology and I can't participate online. Well, that's validating that it's like, hey, you're here because it's not coincidence, and you're ready to make an impact, and God has you right where He wants you, and this is a perfect time. It's validating their decision to join. What else? Kathy, you said you had something else?
Well, that was the first thing I wrote down, everything. Then I make sure that the new person knows how to find like the links to get started, knows where to help them to find what they need to, so they don't feel lost and like I don't know where to go.
Yeah.
That's very important.
So tools and navigation.
The tools, yes.
And it helps with.
There's the third one.
It helps them with becoming independent from us as quickly as possible. What were you saying about the third one?
That's like the getting started checklist. That's like the third one. You mentioned 5.
Oh, that's part of. So the getting started checklist had 5 suggestions.
Yeah.
That's good.
But also like it had like you numbered them like 1 to 5, not just the getting started checklist, but like validating your decisions, set your expectations, getting started checklist, have a game plan, and end with a specific assignment. Those are 5.
Is that what stood out to you, Tina?
Me? What? I understand better now why you do some of the things that you do.
Like what?
Well, like the getting started checklist. That was like a big part of like, oh, okay, makes sense. It's not just something out of the blue. Or like, I thought it was like coming from like a systemology course or something like, you know. But I guess is this where you learned it, the getting started checklist?
Onboarding is something that every business across the world has. If they onboard new customers or onboard people, and onboarding is getting people started with volunteering, getting people started with like the online course, getting people started with whatever. So I didn't get it from here, but it's just it's one of those principles that exists across the board, no matter what industry you're a part of.
So this basically is all just about onboarding.
The entire
Getting started.
thing that we just listened to was all about onboarding.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
What I found really interesting was like what he said. Number 4 was like have a game plan for their first week. It's like because if you don't do that, things seem to like fall through the crack. And he said that was the difference between Michael and him. Like he was a lot more. Michael was very specific. Whoever Michael is, but anyways. And also, and by giving a specific assignment along with a deadline of when it should be finished. That really stood out to me.
So having a game plan for the first week is super essential, helping people to have like very specific things. And he was saying incorporating small victories or like these micro wins early along the process so that they can have victories to get over the line is what he was saying, where it's easier to stay with the Army of Youth than it is to leave the Army of Youth and quit and not be interested or feel that something else should take their time and attention and priority.
And what would make that happen is like, if you got a check in your hand, it would be harder to leave the Army of Youth when that could be your bread and butter, you know. So that would make it to where it would be hard to leave.
Yes, and then since we're a volunteer organization, when these trainings talk about making money, what do we replace that in our mind with?
Value.
Value. And what else would we? Yes, you got it. What else would we call value?
Souls.
Value, souls. Okay. Yes, because when you store your treasures in heaven, the treasures that we have in heaven are jewels on our crown, which are souls that are won to the kingdom. Mm-hmm. So that's like our reward and our payment.
And the understanding that we have.
And I would say impact.
Well,
So the impact on souls. So when we look at, just like when he's talking about the retention in network marketing, when people get paid quickly, he said network marketing wasn't real for me until I received my first check. Then it allowed me to dream. So in our context, what that looks like is when we have a new volunteer that's participating, then we have to help them to do something that makes an impact that they can see. That volunteering for them or modern publishing for them is not real for them until they can see the impact that they have made.
yeah, like when we saw the invite to the small groups that we could post on Facebook and such. It's like, wow, that's so beautiful. You did a good job. And then they're like, wow. And then people join, and that's so that makes it harder to leave than it is to stay.
Okay, it gets them over the line.
Yeah.
Another thing that gets them over the line is when you invite someone to attend a small group and they show up and you ask them, what did you like best? And you hear that testimony of what they said really stood out to them, you see the impact that your invitation made in their life, that pushes someone over the line.
Yeah.
That helps them to make that emotional decision and a logical decision. It's like, I'm in the right place, I need to commit to this, this is a skill worth developing. All the discomfort and uncomfortable of everything we're doing, it is worth pushing through any of these challenges we're facing. So yeah, so anytime it's talking about making money, we could replace it with impact, value, winning souls, things like that. Because that's what motivates a lot of people working together here. Was there something else that stood out to someone? Was there something that stood out to you, Mom?
Yeah, I like. Oh,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
There was something else I wanted to ask Tina about, but I forgot what she said.
What she was talking
Having
about.
a game plan.
Game plan. You wrote it
What
up
else?
And by giving a specific assignment.
The assignment, yes. So did you guys catch this? I want you to see this very clearly. This is a huge aha. This is really good for you to pay attention to, Kamran. That back in the inviting phase, the process, remember BAFA? Book an appointment from an appointment? That the purpose of an exposure is to what?
Create another exposure.
Is to schedule another exposure. So when you look at BAFA, because I think it's easier to remember, book an appointment from an appointment. basically at this appointment, you're giving them one assignment. You're giving them an exposure to a third-party presentation tool, and they're learning, they're growing, they're understanding something different. While a lot of times we think that ends, that process of like, here, take a look, they watch, then what did you like best? Where do you need to, like on a scale from 1 to 10, what number are you? What does it take to make it higher? Then they're like, oh, I need more information about like modern publishing or something. Like, okay, so here's a modern publishing video, check that out. When can you give him a deadline, let him set it when he can get it done by, and you're confirming the date, and then you follow up. Follow up is doing what you say you're going to do, and you do that, and you're like, what do you like best? It's like, I like this on a scale from 1 to 10. What number would you say when you're ready to get started now? Or you're not interested at all? Then the number's higher. What does it take to make the number higher? So you're just doing BAFA the whole way through. But when they sign up and they say yes, they're volunteering, they're involved, or they purchase the course, or whatever the case is, does it quit there?
Mm-mm.
No. It's literally the exact same process. What do new distributors or new volunteers or new students, what do new small group leaders, what do team members crave?
They crave belonging.
You're right, they do. But in the context of getting people started, what do they crave from the leader? All those things are true. But there's one thing
Time
that
and
he said.
attention.
There's one thing that he said. Cameron, did you catch it?
They crave they crave something to do. They want something to do.
Yeah, that's you got the gist of it, Mom. They crave direction, which is direction on what to do. They really crave instruction. They crave a simple assignment. They want to know from their leader, what do I do next? And it's like, I remember yesterday, Cameron was sharing with Brother Anel, and he's like, he watched a presentation, he saw it, and then he's like, what do I do next? And it was just like, the moment that he said that, I thought of this chapter in the book, because I know it's a system. Like when I'm training people, I'm leading people, it's a system. I'm giving them one thing, have them do it, and immediately they're like, okay, what's next? And you just give them the next thing. So we never run out, because we're literally just following a system. And what I would highly recommend, I'd recommend listening to this book again and again and again until you've got this mastered. Not just, I've heard it, so I already know it, I don't need that. But listen to it, do it, fail, make mistakes, mess up, go back, listen, review, plan, do, review, adjust, repeat. Make plans, go do it, review what you did, adjust your plan, and then repeat. And as you continue to plan, do, review, adjust, repeat, then you'll get better and better. And I know that this isn't something I've mastered, but that's why we're going over it together. But this is so key. If you guys can just get this, we have like, when it comes to small groups, we have the leadership training, small group leadership training, that tells people step by step. All right, watch this video. What did you like best? Let's relate, tell stories. Okay, next step, step 2. Next step, step 3. Next step, step 4. And we're just making sure that we're plugging them in. Is this making sense to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because if we get this, BAFA, we never have to feel overwhelmed. Like, and this is a difference too. Mom, this was a game changer. Because you're very resourceful, and I like resources too. I found at the beginning, I would load people up. Go this resource, that resource, boom. And then load them up with a bunch of links and resources. And then what happens is they get information overwhelmed. They don't know how to sort all that stuff. And it's super overwhelming. And so I realized that when I was doing that, I needed, the moment I shifted to one simple assignment at a time, that's when everything changed. People were able to do it, and they did it quickly, and they did it fast, and I was able to run with the runners, and it forced me to take all the information I have and condense it to step by step, and it gave them the freedom where they could actually implement it. Because when you're overwhelmed, confused mind is a paralyzed mind. So this is one thing I would encourage you to also to master, is just one assignment at a time, and that makes a huge difference. What do you think about that?
I'm thinking that I set up an appointment Friday where I was just gonna do that.
Where you're just gonna load them up?
Just give it all
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah.
Let them figure out how to find a home.
Wow.
Easy, easy. Go here and there and do this and do that.
Yeah. And thoroughly confuse the poor soul.
Yeah.
But isn't this amazing?
Yeah.
Isn't this exciting?
Yeah.
This is what I call just-in-time information.
Yeah, it was just in time.
That's right. And also you're looking at the individual and you're seeing what do they need right now, and you just give them an assignment that will help them. You being a leader, you going before, leaders going first, you understanding the path and the process. And also in the Army of Youth, we're teaching from frameworks, we're following frameworks. So we're just following a path, and we're able to see where are they, what step are they on. That's why I tell people evangelism is like a scale from 1 to 10. Your goal is not to get someone from a 1 to a 10 overnight. Your goal is to find out where are they on this scale, and how can I get them one step forward. And when you look at evangelism under that framework, it really simplifies the gospel. It really simplifies all your conversation. You could be intentional with your team members. You could be intentional with your leaders. This is the same thing for people building funnels, and the funnel team, and the slide design team, and the quote card team, and the kitchen, just whatever it is. You're just giving them, all right, here's some placeholders, do that. And then here's the next step. And then eventually, that's how you train them. This is what Michael Klaus, he called it progressive education. We have to realize you didn't learn everything overnight. They're not going to learn everything overnight. The path of the just is what?
A shining light to shine it more and more.
Yes, it's progressive. So their education of anyone who you're training or teaching or leading or forming their character to be more and more into the character of Christ, it's a progressive work, and you're just doing one step at a time with that individual. And you'll have more success in your evangelism, mentorship, discipling success when you mentor and disciple people like this. Like BAFA, book an appointment from an appointment. So powerful. So what stood out to you, Mom?
Well, we pretty much went over it, that the people wanted direction, and that to give them simple assignments. That was what really stood out. And and another thing is that the way that he didn't really talk about it, but when you're giving a simple assignment, it's the way that you're approaching it. How it's received, because if you I guess he kind of went over it. If you approach it like hey, this is our job and we're gonna work on it, and we're doing it, but he was like sharing with them how this is your work, this is what you do, and I'm here to help you, in the direction that you need to go, or what you need to do. Because according to how you
set the expectations.
Yeah, set the expectations. Yeah.
Was that number 2, Tina?
It's really powerful.
Yeah. I wanted more clarity on that one.
Oh, you did?
I want, yeah.
Okay. Expectations. Okay, we can remind me to go back to that. That's good. What about you, Kamran? What stood out to you?
Setting things up so that setting things up so that they're independent.
Yes.
But at the same time, it seems like they are kind of dependent, because something they said is our job is to get them over the line and to stay over, and that line doesn't go away. So you kind of constantly have to be aware of where they are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's that. But yeah, the line doesn't go away. That stood out to me, because
The line doesn't go away.
it doesn't go away.
That's like Christianity.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Okay.
It's never like,
I've arrived.
like over here on this earth anyways. There's not a place that where like if you stop watching and praying, if you stop spending time with God, you're always gonna backslide. It's like
The abiding in Christ is
Yeah.
like staying over the line.
Abiding, there's the good word.
Or abiding is staying. So, abiding over the line. Carmen, why did that stand out to you?
Remember when we were listening or watching to Radical Duplication?
Yeah.
They talking about helping people get over the line.
Yeah.
And I was like, why not just push them over the cliff? When they can't, they can't get up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you realize there's no cliff
There's no cliff.
because the line's always there.
The line's always there.
I don't get it, but okay.
It's because you weren't there, but that's alright.
If you pushed them over the cliff, they couldn't get up to do anything. They'd be lost. Bling!
So, think about getting people started like making babies or
What?
raising babies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, raising
There's a
babies. There's a
Yeah.
difference. So, when you are raising a child, that baby is dependent on you. But the purpose of parenthood is to help that baby to be raised up to walk, to raised up to feed themselves, to clothe themselves, to nurture themselves. Not only to take care of themselves, but to eventually take care of a family of their own, to take care of a household of their own, and provide for their needs and the needs of others, to be a blessing to society and contribute and go duplicate and repeat that process, to reproduce other God-fearing families. That was God's plan, and His purpose for humanity is to restore the image of God in these children. So from childhood onward, our purpose as spiritual parents, Paul said to Timothy, I have begotten thee through the gospel. So in getting people started, whether they're new volunteers, whether they're new people attending our small groups, whether they are a new team member who's joining our team, a new recruit who's joining our team for slide design, for the funnel building, for whatever the case is, or if we have an entrepreneurial endeavor that we are onboarding people, getting them started, that is our job is to help them to be independent. But when you're a parent and your child is like raised and they have a family and they're building their team, their family, does your responsibility with that child cease? Does your connection with that child cease?
No.
No. You're there as a resource, as a teacher, as a help. They are largely independent from you, and they're supporting themselves and their family and their team, and they're doing what they're doing. But you're there. You don't break that chain of connection, but you make yourself available. And that's the same thing with mentorship or discipleship. Because really, duplication, onboarding, that's discipleship. The value of mentorship increases with time. And the longer that you are available with that individual, the more you can assist them and help them with deeper, stronger, like larger problems in their life. And you can be a greater service and servant in sowing into their lives for eternity, the longer that we stay connected with people. So it's like raising children.
Yeah, just because they're like old and on their own doesn't mean you just completely neglect them.
Yeah, that's right.
That's when it starts getting fun.
Yeah.
That's when it gets fun, Conrad.
Yeah. When they're all raised up.
The line doesn't go away. That's interesting. So, Sister Leah, I see that you're here and you were able to listen to a good portion of it. What stood out to you?
Actually, for some reason, I wasn't able to listen to the podcast. I don't know why the voice was really quiet.
Oh, the voice was quiet? I wonder if the recording is like that too.
No, I shouldn't.
Yeah.
I didn't change the mic on Discord.
That would have been nice if she could have told us somehow.
I see. Okay, well, thank you.
Is there anything she picked
So-
up in our discussion?
You're
You
so
wanna ask
dedicated. You stuck around even though you couldn't hear it. Thank you for being so
Leah?
dedicated.
Is there anything that you picked up in our discussion that you would have questions on, or that stood out to you in the discussion?
Yeah, this is really good fun for her.
That's what I told her. Guess not. So what if we go back to these expectations? What clarity did you want regarding the expectations? I remember going over this with the course. Radical duplication. Tina, did you know I asked you a question?
No.
Yeah, you didn't look like it. Alright, that was my
I'm
fault.
sorry.
I should have said, Tina! What clarity did you want to have
Oh,
with the
okay.
expectations?
Like, okay, whether you're going to succeed or fail, it's on you. It's not on me. I guess that's kind of, yeah.
Well, at the beginning, before he was explaining the expectation, he was talking about how he would go up to somebody and say, hey, we could start a business together, and so their expectation is that we're going to work together and it's our business, instead of that they have their very own business that they need to work on and
Oh, so they're
work
like being
toward.
like dependent on him.
Yeah, so they expected to be, partners with him or something.
Or
And they didn't
he was saying,
understand.
I work for you.
Yeah. Yeah, and so then they'd expect him to do the work of the business, which he's not. He's just to mentor them, to guide them how to do it.
Okay. So is this still like applicable to
To us?
us?
Ask a different question. Is this still applicable? Is closed-minded? But asking
How
is this applicable opens your mind to possibilities
Yeah.
and things that you don't see.
Okay.
So how is this applicable to what we're doing? Well, go ahead, Kamran.
Wait, we're talking about small groups?
We can fit it to anything that we're doing. Course,
Okay.
small groups, volunteers, go for it.
So, your question is about that statement that whether you're going to succeed or fail is on you?
Yeah.
Okay. What we're doing as small group leaders, and we're training our assistants, is we are preparing them to lead a small group of their own
As soon as possible.
as soon as possible. Yeah, so it's not like, hey, we're going to do a small group together, but it's, I'm going to take you along with me so that you can learn how to do this on your own.
And nudge you out of the nest.
Yeah.
It's chicken feeling. Boop.
Okay.
Good point.
So whether this group grows, whether people attend the events, the small group, whether people are sharing or inviting, it is like that's like a successful group. First, like whatever it is, we would have to define success. So in a squad, like whether people are growing, they're coming, they're interacting, they're involving, this is your responsibility. Basically what this is saying is you have to take ownership of all of the results. Everything that happens on your team or doesn't happen on your team is your fault. Everything rises and falls on leadership. If there's a problem in the ministry, it's my fault. It's no one else's, it's my fault. If people aren't doing something, it's because I have not led them to do it. So it's not blaming anyone, but it's taking responsibility and ownership of all the results. If a team is growing, if the quote cards are going out, if people are attending the small groups, like this is my responsibility. And if people are inactive, that's my fault.
Okay.
So that's like success or failure in whatever, whether it's slide design team, if people are showing up to slide design to help, or if people are saying I'm too busy.
Expectations.
Yeah, we are talking about expectations, but one of the expectations is for people that are who are leading with the slide design team. Like it's our responsibility to train people, to equip them, and to help them.
Mm-hmm. Makes
Yeah.
sense.
It reminds me when we first started out together and we wanted to put videos on YouTube and it was just you and me, and then you would stay up all night long learning how to do something. So then we needed to put the video on, and then we needed to edit the videos, and we needed to search for the quotes and the scriptures and
Build the website.
yeah, build a website. Everything took a big learning curve, and until we realized that the expectation isn't totally on us. That if we share that expectation with somebody else and share with them how they could be a part of it and what their duties were and stuff like that, and that freed us up to do more, and we kept being able to do more and more, and look where we're at right now.
Yeah. So it's kind of like you decide.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. And it's also like initiative. I spelled that wrong. But it's like taking initiative. When you look at people on the slide design team, for example, and you can do that for whatever your team is. Like for the funnel team, when you got a new person who joins your team, you're letting them know, they're saying, hey, my purpose is to help you to become independent of me as quickly as possible. So you are not, like, your goal is not to wait to do everything I say, to wait for all the instructions that I give you, and to like just listen, like what would
Just take
Enoch
orders.
want, or what would Tina want, or what does Cameron want? Is like, I'll do whatever I say. Like, we're not here to create yes men who do what they're told. We want to train people who are thinkers, who will see a problem and solve it and take initiative, because we trust the people that we work with, that that God has given them talents that the Lord wants them to use in the Lord's service. So letting them know that it's like, hey, the book Christian Leadership, it says, by Ellen White, it was saying that we want every responsible man to place responsibilities on others. Give them work and teach them to think for themselves, to execute, and to use their judgment. We don't want men to be mere reflectors of other men's thoughts. We want them to have individual, independent thought, so that they recognize that their success or failure in that field, we're going to give them, equip them with the tools, like Kathy was saying, the resources. We'll be there to coach them as a resource, but we're not here to do their work. We're to be their mind to think for them. So yeah, when you're saying you decide, that's a good part. You decide. Was there another part of the expectations that you were wanted to know more about?
No, but one thing that I found really interesting was, like, he's saying, like, there will be good times and bad times. And during these bad times, what do you want me to do?
That was my
Like,
question.
being very, like, upfront and, like, you know, it's like before the problem comes, like, we're already aware that something can happen. Like, how do you want me to react to it? How do you want me to help you?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just, like, waiting and being silent until, like, there's something, and then, like, everyone's like, how are we supposed to react to this? What are we supposed to do? Yeah. It's kind of like the AOI Brothers Keeper.
Yeah, it is. What was your question?
That was my same question. Everyone has periods of doubt. What to do? What do you do? What do you want me to do at that time? How is that applicable? How is that with us that we can see that? That was the one question I did have too.
Okay, so that was slightly different questions. Kathy, Tina, how is that applicable to what we're doing? You gave one example. Can you elaborate?
What example did I give?
You were talking about the Brothers Keeper.
Yeah, that's an example. So instead of, like,
Can you explain what the Brothers Keeper is for those who don't know that?
okay, yeah, for those who are online. So we have this AOI Brothers Keeper for, you know, so we all go through discouraging times. We all go through times that through challenges. And instead of just, like, coming to those challenges without, and then, like, not people not knowing how to help you through those challenges, we're, like, being intentional with, like, we've already asked and we've already put something together on, like, okay, when I go through challenges, how can you help me? So it's like you're gaining vantage ground. It's like, instead of everyone tiptoeing around you because they're not exactly sure how to help you out
Yeah,
during that time.
that's right. Does that make sense, Kathy?
It does.
What was the question?
It does, but at the same time, and that's great for the Brothers Keeper. But what about the people who join as volunteers and then they go, there comes a period when they go, maybe I don't have enough time to do this. Maybe I should be doing something else with my time and stuff like that. Where they're doubting that where they should have joined or shouldn't, or they should continue like the students, Should I continue this? I've learned a lot, but I've learned so much that maybe I don't need to continue. Those are the periods that I'm wondering how we can help out in those.
Yeah. How we can help them, or how asking that part of the expectations applies to what we're doing. Because those sound like two different questions. Or maybe you want to know both.
Probably both.
Okay, so can anyone else? So, Mom, the question was, when you were saying there's going to be some ups and downs, there's going to be some hard times and some good times. Everybody goes through them. How do you want me to respond when you're going through those?
Oh, that's like Tina was saying.
I know, but not with the Brothers Keeper document regarding
Right.
new students or volunteers.
If we ask them questions like if we explain to them, sometimes we're going along and then we find that it's not working quite the way we thought, or that it's times get tough to stick it out. What would help you to stick it out? Why are you in this? When you ask, why are you doing this? And they're saying, oh, I want to save souls, or I want, my mom, and she went through this hard time, and this person helped her, or whatever, and somehow they attach it to what they're helping us with. Then when they're wanting to go away, or when they're wanting to slow down, or they're not showing up, we can remind them, hey, you remember when you shared with me about this? This person's seeking help right now, or remember how your mom pulled through? There's other people, falling short that needs help to pull through, or whatever. Just kind of like Tina was saying, to remind them why they showed up in the first place. And we could go deep into their why too. Like an onion, is that seven layers deep?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if we find that out soon, that could be what we use. Each layer is something that we can use to remind them why they're here.
But the crystal clear why is really the thing that keeps them
Going. Yeah.
strong.
Dedicated.
So part of the process too, why it's so essential when we're onboarding them and getting them started, like we have this in the discovery call. This is something that you ask in when you're talking to new students, and that's why now that you're seeing like more of the value of it, it's not something that we just want to like ask and just like go through the motions with and just hear and like, oh, okay, cool. It's something we want to like listen intently, because it's extremely relevant to know that what they say, like, why are you joining this program? Why do you want to know this? Why does this matter to you? And when you understand their why, what motivates me is not what motivates Tina or you or Kamra. So knowing the why of your team member, whether it's slide design or a new student onboarding, or whether the funnel team or whatever, finding out what motivates them. And if they don't know, then we as leaders, it's our responsibility to help them to discover their why. Because what you don't want to you want to motivate people by what already motivates them. You influence people the most by what already influences them. So by discovering what influences them, we're listening, because we know we need to tuck that away, so that when, not if, but when they're going through a hard time, we're just like, we remind them, hey, yeah, like what Mom was saying. It's like, remember that testimony? Remember that person who you invited, and how they were brought closer to Christ, they overcame satanic shyness, they started sharing Christ more with others, and they had the experience that they've never had before. They started studying and devouring the Word of God. It's like there's other people just like them. And if you quit now, those people won't be reached. Or it's like remember that friend that you met through modern publishing, or the person who you interacted with and the life change that they had. Do you remember? Like, that's why you're here, because you're making a difference and you're really impacting souls. And if people, their why is why they don't quit. Their why is what gets them over the line. So anytime someone is saying, I'm too busy, or I can't help anymore, I don't have time, or they start drifting away, or they start doubting or questioning, it's because they are stepping away from their why. And as leaders, we have to remind them why they're doing what they're doing in the first place. And it's not why I'm doing it, it's literally why they are doing it.
Yes.
And it requires us to listen, ask questions, to listen with the intent to understand. And we have to discover and be intentional with everyone that we lead. What motivates them? What is their motive and passion and desire? Why are they doing what they're doing? And really in the judgment, in this great judgment throne, what is going to be judged the most, more than any actions, is our motive. Is why did we do what we did? This is the biggest thing that is going to be weighed in this judgment. So if we want to form the character of God, God is looking at the motive. We too need to understand what motivates people and help them.
What is their motive?
And we should appeal to their nobler motives. We should help strengthen their higher motives. Because if we want to help form the character of God in others, we need to get really good at identifying the higher motives, the stronger motives, the pure motives of others, and feeding and fostering those pure motives.
Well, the other day I was talking with a lady, and she just had somebody who died, and you know, one of her friends died, and she got a lot of anxiety over it. And so I was talking to her, and she says, "Oh, I feel so much anxiety." I don't remember exactly how she said it, but she said, "I feel so much anxiety," and I wasn't connecting the two together. I said, "Why do you feel so much anxiety?" And then she said, "Because my friend died, and just at any moment anybody could die, and she really wanted to live a peaceful, nice life, and to know that just anybody could die at any moment stressed her out." And I was like, wow. Well, I wouldn't have known that if I didn't ask her why. And then because I knew her why, I was able to direct her to something that I haven't talked to her since, but be able to direct her to something that could possibly help her.
Yeah.
And so to know, not only for them to know their why, but for us to know their why, we can have a deeper, greater relationship with a person too.
Mm-hmm. Amen. And to go further, like with Batha, if you wanted to like continue to help her through it, I'm not saying that you do that with every person, but if you wanted to, then you book an appointment from the appointment, and when you give her resource, you ask her, when do you think is as soon as you'd be able to check that out? She'll tell you, and you're like, okay, so if I follow up with you at this time, and you'll for sure check it out. And she's like, yeah. And then you're like, okay, I'll do that. And then you send her the link. Yeah. And then she does that, and then you can find out, and you're like, hey, what did you like best? And then you see that she made progress. She maybe went from a 3 to a 4. You're like, what would it take to make that higher? Or like, how you're asking, like, how can we help her to the next step?
Yeah.
And that is what evangelism is. It's a matter of just a few more personal touches. You just have these touching points, these exposures, these appointments, and the more that people come in contact with Christ through you, that's how their character and their lives are being changed.
And you know, these videos show a lot of technique, but really the goals and the information of how we should, our focus is really in this video right here. To book an appointment from an appointment, to find out the whys and the things that we're talking about today, because that really is the evangelism. All the other stuff that he teaches is techniques, is how to do it, or why to do it and stuff like that.
I don't know what you mean by all the other stuff.
Well,
we've been going over 7 skills, and all 7 skills that sound very... I don't even know what you mean by techniques.
Well,
like the temporary techniques that don't last?
No, I'm just talking about techniques like book an appointment from an appointment's a technique, right?
Sounds like a principle to me.
A principle?
Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah. Because it's a principle that's transferable. Because techniques are temporary, principles are permanent. Principles transfer from industry or a thing that you're doing, And because this works in like everything that we're doing, it works with raising children, it works with forming a team, it works with discipling a Christian, or it works with training someone on an entrepreneurial endeavor. So it's like, that sounds like a principle.
Well, I'm just thinking that this particular video that we watched is very excuse me, is very the basic needs that people need and how we can reach it, you know, like how to get somebody started.
Okay.
To be,
maybe you're
have
saying
a foundation.
Maybe you're saying that because like this is like one of them that like spoke to you the most, that has like really helped the most relevancy.
Maybe. Oh, this is leaking.
Because you took out the thing.
No, it was leaking before that.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, so that's what you do, Kathy, when they're starting to teeter off. But how it applies when they're just getting started, one, you can find out their why, but two, you can let them know, be like, hey, when you're going through a hard time, and I'll know you're going through a hard, like there's going to be ups and downs as your ministry, when you're using your talents for Christ's service, which is really what ultimately everyone is doing. That's their why to some degree or another. That's like our corporate why, but we all have individual personal whys. And the corporate why is what everybody can be involved in, but our individual why is what motivates us as a person. And so we let them know, it's like, when you're using your talents for Christ's service, there's going to be obstacles, there's going to be challenges, there's going to be circumstances. I have to go over this time and time again with like Rebecca, with Kim, with different people. It's like there's going to be obstacles, but how do you want me to handle? And I know you're going to be having a hard time when you're not showing up for the weekly debriefing, when you're not showing up to the leadership table, if you're not plugged into a small group squad, or like when you're not showing up, or like locally when you're not showing up for family worship. Then it's like, how do you want us to respond? It's like, do you want me to leave you alone to like go do what you're doing, or you want me to check in on you? You want me to remind you of why you got started in the first place?
Makes a lot of sense. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's what's really powerful, and not just, and this is the part like the podcast we were listening to about responsibility versus authority. Like it may not be my position or my authority like role to be like onboarding or doing like Kathy does an onboarding call with the new students, Diana does a discovery call where she finds out a lot of that. And it may not be our authority to do that, but it's everybody's responsibility in the ministry to find out their why and to remind them and to dig through them. It doesn't matter what phase they're at on the onboarding. If they join the slide design team, or if they join the funnel building team, or if they join any team, it is each of our responsibility to identify why are they here and what motivates them, those who that we lead. And that will help us tremendously. And so that's setting expectations. Hopefully we learned something that was helpful and practical and relevant in the things that we're setting out to do. I think we got to the end of our discussion. In summary, I just want to say that getting people started is a foundational skill of evangelism in Christianity. It's extremely difficult to develop the character of Christ if we're not out helping other people to develop the character of Christ. And it's going to be very difficult to help other people unless we're working from a system. When you have systematic labor, wisely conducted, then it produces blessed results. But if we just haphazardly just go off and do this way here and scatter that here, and there's no rhyme or reason to how we are helping people to come closer to Christ, then we're going to be overwhelmed. We're going to be stressed out. Every conversation is going to feel like it's a problem or a burden. But when you begin to realize the system and you realize the principles, then you see that everything that you learn can be remixed and applied to the unique situation that you're in, and you're helping people to get started in their journey of developing Christ-like character and glorifying God, which is our true purpose in life, and its communicated value, discipling. Be not deceived, disciples make disciples. disciples duplicate. We don't want what works. We want what duplicates. And so today we studied the science of duplication. And hopefully we can all gain some valuable insight from that.
Amen.
Who would like to close us with a word of prayer?
I would.
All right, thank you.
Dear Lord, we thank you for your wisdom, your kindness, and your mercy, and your generosity. You're so good to us, Lord. The way you take Adam and you duplicate him, and then you even though we were defiled by sin, you take what is good and you help us to learn how to duplicate it. And dear Lord, I just pray that through the duplication process that we're able to help people to see what it is that we're to do and how to do it, and be able to help people out there, because there's so many people who are suffering, so many people who are confused, so many people who need help, Lord. Help us to help them. Help us to know what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. And thank you for I know I've learned a lot through network marketing, and I'm just thankful that we could take wisdom that's from somebody who studied it and who works with it and who puts their heart and their life into it, and they're able to teach it to us, and we're able to extract what they have learned and filter it through the Bible and see the principles, Lord. Thank you. And I just pray that those principles run deep in our souls, and we're able to transfer those principles over to other people so that they can live a meaningful life, one that is free from the sin and the bondage and everything that Satan would take away from them, Lord. I pray that we see clearly how to share with them. Thank you for all that you do for us. Forgive us where we fall short, Lord. And please be with us always. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Praise the Lord.